All right, now it's time we move on and talk a little bit about one of our favorite family members, the Hitchhiker.
Also known as Nubbins.
Nubbins Sawyer.
It's a nice picture. Hey, you can pay me now. Huh? $2.
So we're going to go through and kind of give a little background on him, and I'm sure there's some things we're going to learn, and hopefully you guys do as well. So Nubbins Sawyer, also known as the Hitchhiker, appears in TCM 1 and its sequel. Many people don't know we've talked about it. He's in the sequel, but not in a good state.
Spoiler alert, he died in the first movie.
Yes, yes. So he's a mentally unstable, murderous cannibal, grave robber. He lives with his equally deprived family in the back roads of Texas, capturing, torturing, and feasting on unwary travelers.
And he's a hitchhiker, obviously. In the first movie, he hitchhikes and does some weird stuff in the car.
Yeah, he also likes to use blood to paint symbols on those cars.
One might say a marking.
Yes. So his full name, Nubbins Sawyer, alias the Hitchhiker. He's a male. He is deceased. Occupation, serial killer.
That's fair.
Born 1945, died 1973. That's kind of interesting. Okay, here's some known relatives. Bubba Sawyer, that is Leatherface.
Yep.
It's his brother. Robert Sawyer is his twin brother, and I believe that's Chop Top.
I believe so.
Drayton Sawyer, that's Cook, that's his brother. Grandpa Sawyer, it's his grandpa.
Makes sense.
Grandma Sawyer, grandma. He was played by Ed O'Neill.
In the movie.
Of course. What else? What else would he be played? In the game?
I don't know.
All right, now we're going to get into a little of his biography. Though sadistic and violent, he's generally one of the least threatening characters in the movie, being not very intelligent and behaving erratically. Now, if you've watched the movies, this dude, erratic, is this guy.
Yeah, he takes pictures, wants money, doesn't get it, cuts a guy in a wheelchair, marks their van with a whatever. Then he chases Sally all over the place. Not good running technique, kind of zigzags.
Yeah. And even in the game, you see it. Wild swings, right?
Yeah. And then they mention it. He's grave robbing, just doing wild stuff.
Yep. That's where he gets those bones. You guys know about the traps. The character also has a bizarre speech impediment and a large birthmark on the left side of his face. You know what's funny? I know now that they say that, I noticed it. I never really keyed in on the birthmark.
I never saw it.
So his speech impediment came from the actor who portrayed him, Ed Nill, who played the Hitchhiker as someone suffering from schizophrenia. So that was kind of an actor decision.
It kind of makes sense he's schizophrenic because he's all over the place.
Yeah, I think they did a good job with that too. So in TCM1, he basically is the first family member that meets the victims.
Right. They pick him up and they said he looks like he smells.
What does he look like?
Well, the son of a bitch is going to smell just like the slaughterhouse.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. So he acts erratically, cuts himself, cuts them as well, lights some stuff on fire. We've already broken down the movie. We're not going to get into that. But they do mention here, the film later identifies the Hitchhiker as the brother of the other two main villains of the film, Leatherface and Drayton Sawyer, which is Cook, our old man as he's called in the movie.
Right.
As well as the middle son of a family of mentally unstable and murderous cannibals. It's also revealed that he was the one responding to the grave robberies. We talked about that
Responsible,
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he loves grave robbing. Mentioned at the beginning of the film, he was taking photographs of decomposed corpses and making horrific art and statues out of them at the cemetery.
Yeah, it seemed to me from Cook's voice lines too, like Hitch is kind of the screw up, does random weird stuff, gets the family in trouble, and Cook and Leatherface have to clean up after him.
Yeah, you know, it'd be kind of cool is if in the game you could make some art out of the victims for a kill.
You mean you could do a little statue like he does?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be kind of cool.
It's a thought.
Not? I don't know. Why not?
It's a thought. So they have a little blurb in here on TCM2 about him. And like we mentioned...
we probably should say in TCM1, at the end, he gets trucked. He is fighting with Sally.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, it's only been, I don't know, 40 years, whatever. But he runs out into the road. He's fighting with Sally. Truck hits him. And he clearly gets run over a lot and dies.
Do you know what? It's almost like they were alluding to him in part 2 because he clearly turns into like a mannequin or a puppet when he gets hit by the truck.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm talking about? It's not very well done. Like when he gets hit, you look at it, you could tell it's like a mannequin.
So you're saying the mannequin is alluding to what he becomes in part 2?
For part 2, he's like a puppet, you know?
Okay, we'll go with that.
Which we'll talk about, yeah. In part 2, he appears only as a macabre puppet-like corpse.
And actually, I would say he's equally as enjoyable. I loved him in part 2.
Yeah, I know. They do a good job with him there. It's funny.
And the funniest thing, because again, not being big TCM fans, the first time I should say, I didn't watch a ton of it before we started playing the game. But now, since we watched part 1, play the game, it's really funny seeing him as a skeleton. And I didn't even know that was him at first.
So in part 2, his family has reassembled him after the events of the first film, like you just said.
So you see him with Leatherface on top of the car. You see Hitch and Chop Top. Like a lot of times, Chop Top's dancing with Hitch.
Yeah. So here's the demise of Hitch. Do you know what it is?
The demise?
Yes. So the hitchhiker's corpse is presumably destroyed when a hand grenade set off by Drayton blows up the family hideout with Hitchhiker's body in it.
Oh, you're saying, okay, so he was already dead, but that was the end of Hitch because the bones are gone. Because, yeah, he got blown up.
I mean, in this movie, dead, who knows? Like, Grandpa seems like he's dead. But is he really?
Yeah, and then in the different movies, as you'll see, Grandpa changes quite a bit from movie to movie. So you never know. Hitch could come back as a skeleton.
So that's pretty much what we know about Hitch. What are your thoughts of him as a character in the series, the game, the movie, whatever?
I love him, and I think he's one of the fan favorites because of how crazy he is, especially, being a member of the family. It's scary seeing someone who's so schizophrenic all over the place. You don't know what he's going to do. And sometimes it doesn't even make sense what he does. Like the grave robbing and the setting up the characters, I think is a funny little characteristic of his.
Yeah. And yeah, you pretty much kind of nailed it with him. Like that's how he is. You see him in the car, you try to get a read on people and there is no read on it. He can do anything. He can be your friend kind of, but not really. And that's how he is with the family even. He kind of antagonizes them and just does wild things. They don't know what he's going to do.
And I would also say, I think schizophrenia may run in the family because Cook's kind of the same way. Not as crazy though, but a little bit of like that. Like, is he good? Is he bad? There's a little bit of both.
I mean, I think it's safe to say they're all bad, but
what is bad? What does bad mean to you?
Yeah. I like Hitch in the game. His wild swing, he's got that little knife. So he's not like that powerful, but he's got the traps. I think that's a good touch that they added in.
Did he actually do any traps in the movie?
I don't remember traps. I don't know. Maybe they talked about it. No one that I recall steps in a trap or anything.
Yeah, which is interesting, but it makes sense. I like how they built that in as one thing he does.
I think that's a good touch to put in the game because he's like a pivotal part of it now.
Yeah, I love him in the movie. He's one of my favorite characters. So
yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will probably talk about Cook on the next one.